Hey, I'm Isabel Bercaw, and when I was 12 years old, I founded a multi-million-dollar bath and body products company called the Bomb Bath. After 5 years of building my own brand, I've discovered a passion for helping young and innovative entrepreneurs tell their stories. Hopefully, you'll be inspired by the guests here on Build-A-Biz and maybe even motivated to start a business of your own. Let's get into it.
This is Build-A-Biz with Isabel Bercaw.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Build-A-Biz. My name is Isabel Bercaw, your host, and today, for the first episode of the second year of Build-A-Biz, I am here with a very, very, very special guest, my sister, Caroline Bercaw, and we're actually going to be telling our very own entrepreneurial story today, and I'm so excited to be able to share this with all the listeners here, and I can't also wait to interview my sister on some nice questions about her experience with business, even though it's probably about the same as mine. Caroline, thank you so much for coming on Build-A-Biz today. I'm so excited.
Thank you for having me. This is super funny, but I'm really excited to be here and I don't know, just tell our story together.
I guess because it's funny, we don't really talk much about our story one-on-one. We mostly do it with if someone's interviewing us or, at a speaking engagement or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see what both of us has to say to each other.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like we've been through it all together. So I think a lot of people would expect that our story and our journey is like very similar, which I think it is, but we're also like different people. So I feel like we might have a few different thoughts too, which should be interesting.
Yeah, why don't we start by you talking about how you think we're different? Like maybe you could say why you think we're different, like where we differ and where we're similar in personality type, and I'll just kind of add on to that.
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, if anyone doesn't know, Isabel's older by like 16 months. So I feel like growing up, I obviously like always looked up to you. And I think you were very like expressive and social and just like good at talking, I guess, and like holding a conversation. And I feel like I was always like looking at you like, like I kind of just, I guess, like came in the conversation when I could or like when I felt I had something to say. So overall, I feel like you're very expressive and like open about your emotions and like you're very creative and proactive, and I feel like I am kind of the one who will like contribute when I need to, and like I'm very methodical, so I feel like you're always constantly thinking of like, how do we go to the next step? How do we do this? I want to do this. And I'm like, okay, what are the steps that are required to get there? And so we overall like balance each other out really well. But yeah, we're different, but we work well together, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think first of all, it's super cute that you say you look up to me, because that's not really something you tell me directly very often.
Yeah.
So whenever you do say it, I feel very honored because, you're my best friend, so it makes me really happy to know that. And I look up to you too, literally, because you're taller than me. But also, as a person. And I think part of the reason when I was younger, I knew that you were a little bit shyer, so it was easier to be social when I felt like maybe I was protecting seems like an intense word, but maybe sticking up for you in a way, just knowing that was your personality type, and maybe I could kind of like compensate if you wanted to feel quiet. So I feel like we, like you said, we balance each other out, because I'm able to do that, and then you're able to kind of sit back and observe while I do the talking most of the time. And I feel like that dynamic is really important, but then I also feel like we both learned a lot from each other too, when it comes to doing business, which we'll get into a little bit later. But I feel like both of us have grown into better people because of each other, which I think is really cool, especially because a lot of sisters don't get the opportunity. And maybe you could even say aren't like forced to be together that much that they end up, making each other better people and maybe also having a couple of arguments in between, but we don't need to talk about that part of it.
Yeah, I definitely think that we were close before the business, especially being so close in age. But having the business really brought us together and kept us close. And now we're living together. So
Yeah.
I'm really thankful for the business for that aspect.
Yeah, and really with our whole family. So I think we should get into talking about what this whole business is that we're talking about over and over and over again. Do you want to just go ahead and explain how the business got started and what we do?
Yeah. So when Isabel and I were 10 and 11, we were figure skaters and we were pretty competitive with it. So we would train a lot and we wanted to kind of relax and unwind after a long day of working and training. So we would take baths with bath bombs. And after we started doing that, we, of course, were talking and we wanted to be a little creative with it. So we thought, okay, why not make our own bath bombs? And so we just started in our basement, looking up different recipes and experimenting with recipes we found online. And we would make our own bath bombs. And of course, like I said, we were pretty creative. So we were like, okay, how are we going to make these different and unique and fun during our bath? And so,
and may I interrupt you for a second? I also think this is funny. This is not what I usually do in an interview, but I also think we had problems with bath bombs that we were already using as well.
Yes, exactly. A big issue when we would take baths is that there would be a residue in the bathtub or like some random things would be floating in the water. Like it just wasn't
plants.
Yeah, it wasn't the most fun experience. And obviously for us, it was all about fun. So we decided to make our own bath bombs and we put a little surprise inside the bath bomb as well. And so we decided that could either be a toy or a message or a charm, anything fun like that. And all of our bath bombs had a theme. They still do. But the theme would always correlate with the fragrance and the name of the bath bomb and the surprise. So, for example, our earth bomb looks like the earth. It smells like an ocean sea breeze fragrance, and it has a toy sea creature inside. So with that idea, we kind of just gave some bath bombs to our friends. We kept using them ourselves until one of our friends mentioned the Uptown Art Fair, which was a local art fair in our town. And we decided to enter the art fair because it was like $25 for a kid's booth. And it was a 2-day fair. We borrowed money from our mom. We bought all the ingredients we needed to make, I think, about 150 bath bombs.
Yeah, and it was about $125 that we borrowed from our mom.
Yes. And so with that, we made the bath bombs. She drove us to the art fair, our mom did, and we ended up setting up a really cute booth and sold out on the first day, which was crazy for us. I don't know how you felt about it. I think I was kind of like, oh, sweet, that's fun. But I didn't really realize what it would become at that time. And so, yeah, basically with that, we had, a pretty good success at the art fair. We had to go home that night and make a bunch more bath bombs and just stay up super late. And then we ended up selling out again the second day. And then after that, we really didn't do much with the bath bombs until the following year when we re-entered the art fair again. And that year, a local salon owner approached us and bought like 11 of our bath bombs and then came back the next day and said, these were great. I really want to sell them in my salons. And so that was really exciting for me, and I'm sure it was for you too, because this salon, it's called Salon. We had been going there, to get like manicures on special occasions or like to get our hair cut. And so it was really cool to like meet the owner and be able to sell our products in his salons. So,
yeah, and And he was really great too about just like giving us a chance. So I'll always really appreciate that he saw that, you know, we obviously just thought it was going to be a little hobby. And then also our parents have told us before that they just thought it was going to be a really good learning experience. But I think Mr. Worley is his name. He knew deep down that we'd maybe take it a little bit further, and he believed in us. And that's something I'll always be really grateful for.
Yeah, definitely. There were a few pivotal people in our journey that I think really wanted us to succeed and were just willing to help us and give us advice. And I'm just so thankful that people were able to help us and saw, you know, what we had and wanted to help. So shout out to them.
Totally. So then after our first store, what was the turning point where we decided to kind of continue to scale our business?
So after we started selling in those salons, we started reaching out to a few other local places, and they ended up carrying our products as well. But I think a pretty big turning point for us is when Target actually approached us and they had seen our products in a local store, and they reached out to us and said, we really want you to come in. Originally, it was a buyer for Target that was in the As Seen on TV products. And after meeting with him, we were really excited, but we kind of realized that it wasn't the best fit because our products are bath and body products. And so he was actually nice enough to pass along our name to the beauty buyer at Target. And we had a meeting with their team. They decided to, instead of testing our products in a few of their stores, they said, we want you for holiday in all 1,800 of our stores, which, you know, for me and for Isabel, I'm sure you can talk about this too, but that was a huge point because, you know, going from a few local stores to all of a sudden being in a mass retailer was huge. And we, you know, knew that that's when we had to really take this seriously and take it to the next level pretty much.
Yeah. And a fun fact, just before I backtrack a little bit, is, you know, we were still in our basement at the time that Target approached us, and we don't talk about it too often because we don't want to brag about the fact that we got into Target when, you know, we were still in our house. But, you know, we went to the meeting and it was kind of funny because we were all kind of looking at each other like, okay, we'll tell the truth if they ask, but, you know, we have this plan to get into a warehouse in the next year or so before we actually get our products in the stores. We knew that this was kind of a point for us that we needed to push through, and we were lucky enough that everything worked out.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So then just to rewind a little bit, there was a little bit of, there were a couple events in there that you missed, Caroline, that, you know, I think maybe we should touch on, which I would really like to talk about market, because I feel like that was also a huge turning point for us because we really got to go and, well, first of all, what's market? It is 3 buildings, 13 stories tall in Atlanta and New York. And, but the one in Atlanta is the first one we went to, called America's Mart. And then there's also one in Vegas. And then I think there's one in Dallas too that we went to once. But the first one we went to and the main attraction is in Atlanta. So we packed up a U-Haul with all of our products and we bought a booth in this massive, it was basically like a mall for wholesale shoppers. So people could come and buy products for their stores. And we had to pack up all of our stuff in a U-Haul and drive 18 hours to Atlanta because we couldn't yet afford to ship all of our like booth accessories and our products down to Atlanta from Minneapolis, where we live. So we drove the 18 hours. We missed school. It was super intense, a little bit stressful, but we were also just very excited because when we got there, it was kind of like a massive art fair. Like there were people coming around, you know, asking us questions, all that good stuff, except it was just on a much larger scale. And instead of buying 1 or 2 bath bombs, people were buying 25 bath bombs for their stores. And then that also let us get more exposure as well, which I think was really fun. And then that's actually kind of where I think we ended up, gaining the skills to be able to then go and scale on a large enough scale to get into Target, which is super cool.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's funny that you bring up market too, because I remember that was a whole experience for us. Like, I brought my camera and I started vlogging, and we, were working like 9 hours a day with our clipboards, taking orders and telling our story. And it was really fun to be able to do that together. And I honestly don't think I would have been able to do it without you, because it was definitely intense, and our entire family was there too, helping us. So I think without the support of our family and without the support of you, it wouldn't have been possible. So that was a really cool, fun thing that we all did together.
Yeah, except the only part that wasn't great is when we had to share a bed, and that was a little bit frustrating after working for 9 hours a day. So I'm gonna have to have a talk with you about that later. Just kidding.
There is a point where you kind of get a little sick of being around your family after 9 hours working together, but that's just something we learn to deal with.
Yeah, there are also moments where, I'm just trying to be completely transparent. There are moments where you can just kind of need some alone time. It's not even that it's your family necessarily. I mean, it could be, but for me, it was always just, I needed to just like get away. So, you maybe go hide behind your booth for 5 minutes just to take some deep breaths. At least that's what I do to kind of cope with the stress. How do you cope with the stress, Caroline?
It depends on the situation, but I think the stress of school and work was a really big challenge, especially when we got to high school. There was definitely a lot of times where we would have to sacrifice different things. Sometimes there'd be like a football game, or sometimes there would be my friends were hanging out, but we had a big order that we had to deal with, or an interview, or anything that we had to do. And so it was definitely very stressful, and still can be, obviously. But I think dealing with stress, for me at least, I would kind of just take a step back. I wouldn't try to overwhelm myself with thinking about the future, or, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff to do. I'd really just take it one step at a time, and I would take a deep breath and try to separate myself from being overwhelmed and thinking about all that. And honestly too, like, having a support system was huge. And again, that I'm just bringing this back to our family, because, our mom and dad were so supportive and were just there for us and really wanted us to succeed and encouraged us to succeed and be creative. And so I think just having them as our support system, and even our little brother, Harry, like, he was just the sweetest, and like really kept things funny, and would like keep things very uplifting by contributing his ideas and his creativity too. And so, and obviously you were a major part of my support system too, because we were both going through pretty much the same thing. And so I think just keeping my family around, even if I needed a little break from you guys sometimes, was really important for me when I was dealing with stress.
Yeah, because it's almost like you look over and you see that somebody else might be a little bit stressed too, and you're like, okay, well, at least I know that I'm not weird for feeling this way. I'm not going through it alone. And then there are also times as well where there's stress, but you just have to push through. But then at least you know, I'm just thinking of this one example. We were all having to package bath bombs on Thanksgiving instead of having Thanksgiving dinner, because we were just at like the peak, this peak vital moment for making the business happen. And we just had so many holiday orders. And, I would have rather been packaging bath bombs on Thanksgiving with my family than any other random stranger or, somebody else in this world, because we were doing it together, and at least we still got to spend that family time together. And then in the long run, it paid off because people started to catch on to our products and really enjoy them. And it's like, now looking back, you're totally right. We just had to take it one day at a time. But I wish I could tell entrepreneurs sometimes like how fulfilling it is when you do finally meet that threshold of success. And I think each threshold of success is different for each person. For me, it's, having a balance now that I've kind of come out on the other side of this intense work that was actually extremely fulfilling and gave me a purpose. And then just feeling like I have purpose now with everything that I've learned. I'm curious to know what you think success means to you.
That's a good question. Success for me, I think, is being proud of what I've accomplished and being happy with where I am now. And again, I keep mentioning our family, but it's so hard not to because they were so crucial in our journey too. I just think being with our family, especially now that we're at college and we're, out of state, it's really crazy because we spent so much time with them that in the moment I was kind of like, didn't even think anything of it. But going away for college, I'm so lucky that like I have you, because whenever we get to see our family again, I cherish those moments so much. And I'm just like so happy to be around, our parents and our brother. So it's just really great to be able to see them again and, realize that all the time we spent with them was so wonderful. And I'm so thankful because a lot of kids don't get to do that.
Yeah, because it's like you can either have your parents go to work at a job and then you only see them for a couple hours every night. Or I remember, we ended up doing half days at school towards the end of our high school career, if you wanted to call it, in the beginning of our real career. And I just remember, leaving school early and, I'd be like, okay, I got to miss a pep rally sometimes. But most of the times it was so worth it because we would get to come to the office. We'd get to see all of our employees helping us make the bath bombs and, make sure everything was organized. And then we get to see our parents too. And there was just this energy that you felt that you just knew that something special was happening. So I think gratitude is another sign of success to me. Is if I can feel grateful for anything and everything, I feel like that's a point to live a successful life, because I'm a very strong believer that you get out what you put in. So I feel like if you're grateful, that's maybe a little tip that some listeners can listen to if they're, maybe trying to start their own business or just going through something. Just always be grateful, even if it's something very small. And then, that can be success to you. What are you most grateful for in this?
Again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I'm just really thankful because looking back on it, in the moment of these times, especially in like the more difficult times, it was really easy to be kind of frustrated or feel a little disheartened. But looking back on all of the memories, good and bad, I'm just so thankful for them because they really shaped me as a person. They really changed how I deal with stress or certain events. And I, when you're in that moment, it's, again, really easy to feel kind of hopeless, but thinking about how that hard work will pay off really does help. And, now that I'm like looking back, and obviously we still have so much to do, but looking back on what we've already done, I just feel so proud, and I'm just super grateful for all the experiences that we've had.
Yeah, totally. And I really love this interview because it is, I wouldn't call it heavy, but it isn't maybe like your normal, oh, this is how much profit I've made. And this is why I'm successful, which I love to tell people's success stories. But I really appreciate that you've come on Build-A-Biz today to kind of talk a little bit about like what's behind Bomb Bath and all the hard work that was put into it and our story that really means a lot to us. And I hope that the audience got to kind of get to know us a little bit more as people, as opposed to only entrepreneurs. And I hope that people got something nice out of this. And I really appreciate you coming on here and and sharing maybe our side of the story that we really would like people to hear, in addition to everything that we've talked about with other interviewers, because I feel like this side of the story is also very important to talk about, and I hope that people listening found it interesting. So Caroline, thank you so much for coming on Build-A-Biz today, and I love you, and I'll see you for dinner tonight.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say too, like, you don't have to include this, but I'm so proud of you because, you know, doing something on your own is obviously different from what we're used to, but I'm just so proud of you for doing this radio show and for starting Build-A-Biz. I think it's so cool, and hopefully, you know, I know you're inspiring a lot of young people, so I'm just really proud of you for that, and thank you for having me on.
Aw, thanks, Caroline. All right, what do you think? What are you thinking? Maybe like chicken parmesan for dinner, or maybe some ramen?
Yeah, I could do some like Italian or something.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Okay, so if you missed the beginning of this interview, or maybe you want to listen to some other interviews, definitely go to the Build-A-Bear YouTube channel, where you'll find a Build-A-Bear Radio playlist. You can click on that playlist and you'll see all the Build-A-Biz episodes that I've done so far. You can also follow me on Instagram at Isabel.Bercaw, where I will be posting weekly updates on who my next guest will be. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. Bye.